Welcome back to My Life, My Purpose, a show that is basically asking questions and actually finding answers to them. So today it's me again, Kalinzi Louis Philip, or you can call me Louis Philip Kalinzi, or Philip Kalinzi Louis. Yes, or Louis Philip Kalinzi Louis, and today we are going to have a very, very beautiful discussion. And today our theme is, or our title is for today, Seeing Beyond. Seeing Beyond. Call it Beyond the Lens, all far, far beyond. So that's today, and you're going to look at 4 very interesting figures that I felt touched you. You know what? These guys are very, very good to talk about. So guys, let's be so ready, because be excited, because this is helping us to connect back to the former shows we've been having. It's a streamline, the same thing. It's one after the other. One is leading to the other. One is leading to the other. So this is the deal. The first show we had last month, it was discipline and motivation. Then we got self-discipline. Then we went down to purpose. Then we summarized the month. So from that moment where we talked about purpose, we realized that, okay, we in that last show where I hosted my friend and brother, E.B. Jeremiah, we talked about purpose, and we realized that purpose can sometimes be overwhelming. Purpose, when it comes, the purpose, that one thing that God has called you, or that one thing that God wants you to do in your life, when he calls you out to come and do it, sometimes it's bigger than you. It's usually stronger than, it's more amazing than you can think, or it can mean to be so demeaning. And so when we look at it, there's how we look at it when it comes to us, and sometimes we are scared and then we fall back. So today I'm going to tell you, today we are going to talk about it in the sense that, hey, this purpose has come your way. You know what you can do? You know what you're going to do? You're actually going to make it, as long as you just look above, see beyond yourself. I can't wait to dive in, you people. But let's first have this small break, and as we get back. welcome back. Welcome back to My Life, My Purpose. And so today, as I've been telling you, we're having our 4 special figures we're going to look at. But before I even talk about our figures we're having, I just want to expand more on the topic of the day: seeing beyond, looking beyond. But where are we looking? What's beyond? So let's say beyond the lens. What's beyond the lens? So there, after we're discussing with EB Jerry, we're talking like, hey, bro, like purpose, when purpose comes your way, like when you get to know what you have to do, or when God shows you what he wants you to do, most times it's heavy. It's really heavy. It's really, really, really heavy. Sometimes it's so overwhelming. You're like, okay, how am I going to do this? Like, is God really serious? Like, why me? And in the Bible, we have very many such cases. And today, part of those, we have 2 interesting Bible stories, but there are also a ton of others, a ton of very many. I think every biblical figure in the Bible has had that challenge. They're all, it's a real life kind of historical book. So every figure there whom God has called to a purpose has always been overwhelmed by it, and the challenges this man has been facing, this woman has been facing, have usually turned out to be super exceeding, like far beyond. But somehow they have managed to pull through. So sometimes we be there, like sometimes we have this experience in life, like you feel like I have to do something, but man, can I really do it? Okay, can I really do it? Can I really? I mean, sometimes you're like, Luis, you're going to be the coordinator of the class. I've got those 2 chances in my O-level, and I was called, Luis, come be the coordinator. I was surprised. I was quiet. I wasn't a person who talks a lot. I'm like, can I really do it? One time I was a coordinator of the class, other time I was the coordinator of my dormitory. So I was in charge of the cleaning and everything. Most times I found myself doing things myself because I did not know how to. I didn't have the guts to tell people what to do because people were stubborn. People like, no, I won't do it. Like, what will you do? And I was in a single school. So I ended up cleaning the dormitory myself. Sometimes trouble comes out and you're like super overwhelmed. But today, let me not speak too much about myself. Today we are having historical figures, and they're not so far-fetched. Some may be by space of air, but they are not strange to our ears. I think you can even actually go easily check them and find them. So today we are going to talk about Mother Teresa. We are going to talk about Desmond Doss. We are going to talk about... Let's first begin with those 2. And I want to first take us back to, I want to first look at Mother Teresa. And now Mother Teresa, no, guys, this is not about what you hold dear to yourself, but this is a person. Now, what I know about Mother Teresa is quite interesting. Mother Teresa was a lady, a nun in the Catholic faith, and she was a nun, basically, yeah. But I don't know how she ended up in India, but she was in India. So imagine walking through the streets of that place, it's called Kolkata, and seeing people suffering from leprosy. Now, leprosy, guys, leprosy is like the COVID of then. Leprosy, I think, was a thing that comes, like, it is transmitted through touch and through air, breathing in air. Now you can imagine COVID. But this is one nun who is healthy, who is perfect, and now she's happening to walk through the streets of Kolkata, and she doesn't have gloves on, she doesn't have masks on, and she's playing around with these kids of India who have leprosy. Leprosy, I don't know how to best describe leprosy, but all I know is a bacterial disease, and this disease eats away your limbs, bit by bit. The good thing, I may say the good thing is that you don't feel pain. But one night you'll wake up and you don't have any fingers on your hands, and you're like, how did they go? Like, they just keep on wearing away slowly. So basically, people with leprosy, kind of lame, I may say. They are lame and they are disfigured in a sense when I bring it to that. But Mother Teresa, and what should be shocking is that leprosy goes through touch and air, so it was quite very easy to catch, I may say. If I can even take you back the story of Jesus, that these 10 lepers, if before they didn't even approach Jesus, but from afar where they were, they shouted, "Dear Jesus, please heal us." And from also where far he was, he said, "You are healed. Go to the high priest." And only one came back. I think we all know the story. So this is Mother Teresa's story. Now, Mother Teresa dedicated her life to serving the poorest of the poor in India. As I said, imagine walking through the streets of Kolkata and seeing people suffering from leprosy, an illness that cannot only cause physical pain. I think the pain was basically emotion. You are seeing your hands go away slowly, bit by bit. But then leprosy wasn't doing that alone. It isolates individuals from society. Many people are turned away from these suffering souls, but Mother Teresa was not turned away. She opened her heart, like she was really so receiving for these people. Her home became their home, and she created a place. Its name is so hard for me to pronounce, but let me say Nimal Harida, all a pure heart. That was her home. That's what she called the place, where she welcomed those who were shunned by society, and she gave them medical care. She gave them love. She treated them with dignity. Mother Teresa is so beyond the suffering of the body. Mother Teresa recognized the inherent worth of every individual. But before I even go any further, like the fact that she took it upon herself to house tens and hundreds of lepers in the city of Kolkata, is something amazing. By someone taking that bold step, I mean, it may not have been bold for her, but she actually took it. So she once said that the greatest disease in the West then and the world today, because now it's in the entire world, was not leprosy, is not AIDS today. Then it wasn't leprosy, it wasn't TB. It is not AIDS today, it isn't COVID-19, but it's being unwanted, unloved, and uncared for. Now, many of us have had that experience in life, and many are good at motivating themselves about people not caring and all that kind of, I won't say crap. It's true. We really feel lonely. I'm also good at doing that, feeling lonely. But now that's what she's saying, that feeling unloved is sometimes the worst case scenario. It's the worst disease that can come to a person. A person can be fully healthy. A person can be so okay. He can even have food. He can have shelter. But if he feels unloved, undesired, uncared for, that person can... Those are the suicidal minds. Those are the self-bombers. Those are guys as the sadists. I mean, it's quite a sad thing to happen in someone's life. To me, it's also the greatest disease that many people suffer with in the world today. So Mother Teresa's work basically helps us to look beyond ourselves and from our comfort zones. And we can make a profound impact by just moving out of our comfort zones. She did not just see the lepers. She saw human beings deserving for love and care. And by partnering with God, she was able to fulfill her calling in the way that transformed countless lives. I just want you to take time and try to sit down and be like, okay, imagine this. You're home and then you feel like, hey, I think I should make a shelter for the very many homeless kids on the streets. I'm easily touched by them, by the way. So, and then you feel like, I think I should really do this. Now, this is what Mother Teresa did. I'm trying to show you the magnitude of what she did. Look at the whole streets of Kampala and see all these homeless kids. And you make a home for these kids. Whereas she wasn't rich, her money, the money she got, the money she was using to take care of these kids was basically money from organizations. She placed herself as a vessel that could be used to take care of these kids. But just let's first look at the magnitude of what she had done and the amount of work that was on her head, the loads of work that was on her head. That was India You can imagine the number of people there. Now this is Uganda. You can just look at the town there. So she makes a home for the many homeless people. So Mother Teresa went out of her comfort zone and trusted the hand of God that she was going to be able to take care of these kids. I mean, I don't know whether I can do it justice. I just want you to have this short glimpse into Mother Teresa's life, and we shall get back.
No one has captured the public imagination like Teresa of Calcutta.
Without question, the most self-sacrificing person I've ever known.
That's the only time in my life I could feel the presence of divinity.
She was a charlatan, pure and simple.
The world was looking for such a figure, pureness and goodness. She became an overnight celebrity.
The press would follow her around the world.
She gave more money to the Vatican Bank than entire countries. The first thing you ask is, what are they doing with the money?
Mother felt that being poor is good because Jesus was poor.
If Diana was the queen of hearts, Mother Teresa was the queen of the poor and a queen of humanity.
That surrender of one's free will, that is one of the hallmarks of cults.
I don't believe that there is any human being who doesn't believe in God, unless they are mental.
It was becoming apparent that there was widespread institutional sexual abuse.
People were just shocked that Mother Teresa had come to the rescue of a serial abuser.
There was this shift away from the needs of the poor to the needs of the church's image.
At the orphanage, there were many lonely and dark times.
This charismatic woman, I just fell in love with her. Mother Teresa was a weapon of propaganda.
But I am living life because of Mother Teresa.
That's how impactful Mother Teresa was. Imagine someone saying, I am leaving because of Mother Teresa.
No one has captured the public imagination like Teresa of Calcutta.
Imagine one person saying, I have lived my life because of Mother Teresa. It's amazing the work that she did. I really appreciate the work that she did. But I'm looking at that work, it was massive. How did she do it? How could she do it alone? That poor old lady. I believe she wasn't old back when she was young, but she still managed to do it. But how? I just want to leave that in our minds as we think about it. Now, our other figure I love to talk about, his name is, oh my goodness, you guys who has watched Hacksaw Ridge? That movie happened to find me. I was in hostel, and guys down in our DH back then at St. Peter's, St. Martha hostel in Zambia. I was in hostel, and then I just happened to pass by the entertainment room, and then boom, I find this World War movie, and I'm in love with World War movies. All I can say was in love, and then I enter, and then I find this guy. I'm watching this movie, and the guy is like, I actually find him at the point whereby he's in a court, or the military martial court, and he's saying, I don't want to kill anyone. Me, I've signed up for one thing. I have signed up to go and help the wounded in battle. I've gone to just go and heal those who are going to be hit. But for me, Desmond, I'm not going to kill anyone. I cannot hold a gun. I was like, what? This is crazy. You're going to war. Why can't you go with a gun? This was me judging him. And then I sat down and I just watched the movie, what it was all about. I was actually angry also. Then this young gentleman called Desmond Dos happened to be a young American soldier from the city of Virginia. Yes, from the city of Virginia. He was a Christian by faith, and he believed in the sanctity of life. And that's why he refused to carry a weapon. He was referring to the 10 Commandments, the commandment that says do not kill. But it was more personal for him, actually, because back when he was still growing up, his dad was battling his mom. And then Desmond gets angry. He goes to his dad. He pins his dad to the wall and points the gun at him. And then Desmond made the realization of what he was actually doing. He was so scared. And from that moment, he made a promise to himself, given that the Bible already refuses us to kill, and even the experience he had got, he chose to be like, you know what, I'm never holding a gun. And then that was there. So when the World War II began, he believed that actually there is a right cause for us to fight in this war. But for some reason, he did not want to hold a gun. Whereas some will say Desmond wasn't agreeing with the killing of others at all, I would want to disagree. But perhaps that was the way it was. It's a complex situation to be in. All in all, regardless, he wanted to serve in the military. He wanted to serve in the war. And then they asked him, why do you want to serve when you don't want to hold a gun? Which kind of person is that? He wasn't going to the battlefield to enjoy guns. He was going to the battlefield to help people. So Desmond is taken to court. His dad comes in and helps. He makes the court understand that actually they will need the services of this boy. So the boy is recruited in the army and is set off. They were so excited as they were going to battle, but they made many regrets after. So Desmond, they goes to the battle and they are going to the Hacksaw Ridge. It turns out America, with its strength, we all know, but the Japanese had humbled these guys. The Japanese had made them humble. Japanese had beaten them so badly. Japanese had killed very many up on that ridge. So it was now Desmond's battalion that was going up. So the first time they went up, they seemed to make a quick progress, until they really captured a very big chunk of piece of the ridge. Until that night, he lost a very dear friend. That very night, that first time they attacked, and then the armies of the USA were taken back very, very fast back down the ridge, and Desmond found himself just stuck. But now, as that was going on, Desmond is a medic, you get. So he's supposed to be attending to the wounded. So the moment the Japanese battling started to be very intense, one guy lost his leg, another one was hit in the stomach. And they were dying, they were falling down like waterfall. Now those guys, that's how they were dying. And they're like, what should I do? And now, since this is a battle, they had this spirit of when some man falls, let's first win the battle, we shall get them back. This was in Desmond. When the commanding captain, came to Desmond in that intense fire, Desmond was trying to attend to a sick person, and one of the fellow medics said, no, this one is not going to make it. Desmond did not believe that. Rather, Desmond stayed and he worked upon this guy. But as he's working on this one, the other one gets a challenge. He's working on this one, another one, he sees another one falling. So that was as the battle was going on. But then the Japanese, very, very fast forward, have managed to push the Americans off the ridge. But sadly, all unfortunately, the way I saw it when the movie was going on, I was like, what? How is this guy going to survive without a gun? And he's left up. I'm like, this is just a hoax. This movie is not a real life story. So I just watched for the sake. But then at the end of it all, as you're going to see here, it turned out to be a true story. So this young gentleman stayed on the ridge. And when they left him, it was intentional for him to stay. He stayed with the body of his friend whom he had met that night of the seemingly victorious attack on the Japanese. But when they were attacked and they killed him, he stayed with the body and he kept it somewhere. Now the Japanese were roaming around while looming on the ridge, so killing any live person they meet. So Desmond stayed transnight and he began helping. As he was going back to climb down the ridge and get back the troops, he would hear some American soldier groaning. He would get to him. He would pull him one by one, he said, carrying men to the end of the ridge. He made shafts with the ropes and some long wood, and then he placed these guys there. Sometimes he tied them on the ropes, but placed them, sent them down gently. And one time, as I was watching the movie, the guy got 1, 2, 3, 4. As we were all counting, the Japanese, I think, were asleep that night. We did not know what was happening. Now, down in the US base at the base, they were bringing in the sick, and they're like, where are these guys coming from? I thought we don't have anyone left up there. In the end, Desmond saved around over 70 people in a night and maybe half a day until he was finally brought down. He was a soldier without weapons, he was a soldier without a gun, but he managed to do that marvelous work he was given. I even don't know how to say the honors, but I'm going to just let you have a short look at this, and then we shall get back and dive into the heart of the lesson we're having today.
Ohio gozaimasu. I am Chaplain Mark Johnston, 38th ADA Brigade Chaplain.
Ohio gozaimasu. I am Chaplain Clements with 1180A.
We're coming to you today from Okinawa, Japan, and we're on a spot that is made famous. It was famous before, or infamous before, but is made famous by a movie called Hacksaw Ridge. And we're standing here on Hacksaw Ridge, right next to the place where Desmond Doss, the medic, World War II medic, lowered at least 70 soldiers down off this cliff behind me and lowered them down to the aid station where they were saved, and for which he received the Medal of Honor. Doss was a Seventh-day Adventist Christian, and it was his belief that he should never cause harm to any other human being. And so he called himself a conscientious, not objector, but a conscientious participator. And he went through much in order to be able to participate in World War II and to do his part for his fellow soldiers and for his nation. Doss was ridiculed, he was beaten, there were all kinds of things that happened to Doss, but he persevered. And in this battle here, he showed his worth. He would crawl along the top of the ridge here, and he saved over 70 Americans. He would bind up their wounds, and then he would pull them over to the edge and lower them over the edge. But there's something that's not talked about very often, something else that Doss did. When Doss would be crawling along, it did not matter to Doss if the person that he ran into when he was crawling was an American or a Japanese soldier. It did not matter to Doss. Doss would bind their wounds, and if he was American, he would pull him back to the American aid station, but if he was Japanese, he would leave him there and allow the Japanese to come out and collect their wounded and bring them back. Because Doss served something higher than the United States Army. Doss's values were more than just, I'm going to serve the Army and do the best I can, but he answered to a higher power. That's one of the things that will happen in life is if you serve an institution, all institutions at their core are selfish and self-centered and self-serving. And if all you do in your life is serve an institution, whether it be a church or the Army or the Marine Corps, the Air Force, a bank, a business, whatever it may be, if all you do is simply serve the institution, at the end of your life or later in your life, you're going to be bitter and jaded. But if you're like Doss, he understood that he served humanity. And so when he came to a place where whoever it was, he didn't care. He bound up their wounds and saved their lives because he cared about them. He served a higher purpose. What is your purpose that you serve?
As we've talked about Desmond Doss, one of my favorite stories about him is just the prayer that he would say as he was trying to find soldiers to help. And his prayer that he prayed was, just help me find one more. Help me just find one more. And I think sometimes we get amazed at the enormity of the situation. Sometimes we just have to focus on that idea of just help me with one more. You know, one more minute, one more hour, whatever it is, whatever you're struggling through. You can always make it through just one more. And we can all have that courage and strength. And before you know it, just like Desmond Doss, you're trying to just help one person and you help 70 of them. And so we can go out there and help others or be able to make it through whatever life is throwing at you and continue just to help that one more. Yo ichi nichio, have a nice day.
Yo ichi nichio, have a nice day.
Chapter systems are offline.
Number one for today's hits and all-time
The
favorites.
statement was one more. So the statement was one more. And as I was watching this movie, I was like, whoa, what's this guy doing? I remember I watched a movie and the guy was super exhausted. And he just, when he went back, he was, as you've seen that ridge, Now, Bambi, that time there wasn't anything to stop you from falling down, So as this guy was just there, every time he makes one go down, even did not know who's down. he didn't know who was down, because at first they were left only 2 soldiers behind to just have I think they did not intend to leave them. These 2 soldiers just happened to keep there. So as they kept there, they saw something coming down. They went, they got it. They got him. They got 5. They called the base. 1 truck came for them, but then it found that they had got some casualties. They went back. Then an entire base, because of one young man.
Systems are offline.
Number 1 for today's hits and all-time favorites.
Hey yo, vibes on vibe, yo, feel the vibe. We are entertainment, CBM Radio.
So, yes, we are Entertainment CBM Radio, and we are at the National ICT Hub. Sorry for the unannounced break. But yes, as I was saying, this guy really got me, and it's the prayer he was having. One more. And the service he was making, as you heard the gentleman saying, he was serving a power higher than the states, a power higher than the government, a power, I even don't know how to say this better, but he was serving a power higher. And when he knew he was serving a power higher than himself, he trusted that power to give him power to do what he had to do. Now, that young one is Desmond Doss. And he died recently, just 2000, these recent 2000 years. But it's so just strengthening to have such men living amongst us. But what makes them special? The work, the men and the women, the work they did. And there are very many more. I just would love if we would share and tell me some of those men and women that you know, and you give us that kind of you give us what they did and what helped them stand out. Where their responsibility might have seemed to be big and massive, but then they still managed to pull it off. It could be you. It could be my brother Vimbo. It could be Paulnet. You guys have done amazing things, and I just salute you all. But now these are men. There's something I want us to see here. What they did was supersedingly above themselves. Because even when bombs were, because still the Japanese tried to aim at him, they tried to kill him. The last person he saved from the ridge happened to be the commander, a commanding official. But he still saved him. And then another interesting thing was this. After they had come back, now they came back for the winning battle. This is what these people did. They left, he managed to come back. They gave him a shower and he was given some really respect. Now, as they were going back to climb the ridge, the commanders at the base had already commanded, go attack right now. And then the commanding captain of this force that was attacking was like, yes sir, we are going to attack, but we are still waiting. And then the generals were waiting for who? Private Desmond. What about him? He is praying. Oh my goodness. It was like, wow. That's the power of God they had now. I had this belief that after that prayer, is the reason they got a very, very fast. After that prayer, they climbed like this. Within 2 hours, they had got the ridge back to themselves. And Desmond happened to lose his leg then. But it was just a touching scenery. He did something far above, beyond himself. He went beyond himself. And not going beyond himself in what he did, but he trusted a power beyond himself. He saw things through a lens that were not human. I mean, he would have, the other American soldiers, run away. He would have, the other Americans, feared actually, not even trusted, but feared, because they had these battleships that were continuously hitting at the ridge, meaning very many died in that due course. Many wounded men died. But this guy did not mind about them. He came for these wounded soldiers. He was asking prayerfully, Father, one more. He did not see things through the strength he had, but he trusted on the power high above himself. Now that will bring us to this. So guys, there's some things that we have to do in our lives. First, we know what we have to do. Because last time we discussed with E.B. Jerry, we discovered that sometimes we actually get to know why we are here. That one thing that you can do. It could be going to a washing bay. Yes. It could be something really small. For example, it could be you're going to be a preacher, a minister of some sort. It could be, I think you should go to the village and begin gardening. And then you really feel like, no, I really do not want to do this. Why? Sometimes we take the lens of our human perspective. You look at the pleasures you're going to leave behind. You begin to worry. Now that you look at the pleasures you're leaving behind, that's when you're going to something you think is demeaning. And then sometimes something is overwhelming. The responsibility is huge. And then you're like, will I really manage? Will I really manage? One thing I learned from Desmond, and I have learned from Mother Teresa, is this. They even didn't have time to think about that. Desmond didn't have time to think about will I manage? Basically, because Desmond's life was already in their hands, he kind of knew his purpose, and he had given his life to serve that particular purpose. He had given his life to serve that particular higher power. And he knew instinctively that this higher power, whatever he has given me to do, I'm quite sure that I'm going to make it. I'm quite sure that he's going to enable me reach out and help me make some sense of what I'm going to do. So we should not look at the worries we have. Yes, we are. Personally, I was given some responsibilities at church, and I'm having this particular worry that, hey guys, I have curfew at home. But somehow, somewhere, judge is kind of letting the curfew pass by. Those I'm not taking on the responsibilities but hey, it's always a process. But it's a conscious thing. Agree to be used by God. It all rotates around that, agreeing to be used by the Father in heaven. Now, I just want us to go now to the next segment of our figures today, and we should begin from the smallest, the biggest. I think they're all big, they're all extraordinary, but let me begin with Moses. Let me begin with Moses, and we're going to go to the point where I think his entire life is a miracle in a way. We all know that moment in Egypt when these guys were slaves, and Moses' mom gives birth to him in a time when the Pharaoh then wanted to kill all the baby boys. But then Moses managed to survive. For 3 months he was with his mom. Then he began to make a lot of noise. They had to keep him in a swamp. And luckily, all as God planned, that's when this Pharaoh's daughter comes in place, and wow, it's just amazing how this boy was brought from slavery to a possible sonship or a kingship even. He became a prince of the king of Egypt, the then USA, the then Rome, the then superpower, the then source of food, the then New York and Los Angeles. Many of us want to run there. This guy, that's where he was becoming the king. So, but his mom, as we all know how the story goes, his mom managed to nurse him as he was young, even in the courts of the Pharaoh. So as he was there, his mom kept on telling him the truth about himself. You are an Israelite. You are a Hebrew. Right now we call them Jews, but then it was you were a Hebrew. Actually, Moses wasn't a Jew. Jews are those from the tribe of Judah. Moses was from the tribe, is it of Benjamin? I'm not so sure on that, but he wasn't. He was a Hebrew. And so we are going to go to the book of Exodus, chapter 3, verses 10. Exodus 3:10 says, I am sending you to free my people from Egypt. I mean, okay, that's one of the best statements I remember from this book. I'm trying to get there. Exodus 3:10. 3:10 says, Come now, therefore, and I will send you to Pharaoh, that you may bring my people and the children of Israel out of Egypt. You guys remember that moment? And remember how he came out of Egypt? He had killed an Egyptian and fellow Israelites. And human beings, we are so hard. Fellow Israelites said to roam it amongst themselves, and somehow the news got to Pharaoh. And Moses knew very well that he was not safe, so he had to run. So he ran away. So when he runs away, he spends 40 years in exile. He gets a wife, lovely wife, I may say. He who gets a wife gets a good thing. So this guy is out ship in the mountains, tending to the father-in-law's flock. And boom, a burning bush. And God tells Moses, Moses, I think I need you. Not I think. I have heard the cry of my people. I want you to go save them. Go to the Pharaoh and tell them the Lord God wants his people to worship me, to worship him. So I have to take them back away from here. And Moses was very hesitant. I really love the argument with Moses had with God. It's an argument I usually tend to have. I usually want to speak to myself. I'm like, but Father, there is this and this and this. But hey, now I think you want it like this, but no. So this is how Moses did it. God is like, go. And Moses is like, no, I can't. How can I? He will kill me. Now I'm with you. Moses is like, no, I can't even speak. He's like, hey, I'm with you. No, show me. He asked for proof. God told him, throw that stick down. The stick turned into a snake. Moses still refused. God is like, okay, is it Moses' soul? It's Moses where then God gave him leprosy of the hand turned white. And then Moses was like, okay. Again, when it became okay, still Moses hesitated and refused. Why did he refuse? He was looking at the weakness he had. It's argued that something about the hot tongue, hot coal was placed on his tongue. This is not a story of Isaiah. No. This is Moses. The reason why some biblical scholars say he was stammering was because of the hot burning coal, something they had put on his tongue, just to make sure he did not sound like the other Hebrews. But it's quite interesting. It's a fascinating story. So Moses is so worried and he's so scared, and he's like, no, I really don't want to go. Until God said it was useless to continue convincing him even after those powers, those marvelous shows of power. Then that's when Aaron is coming into place. Aaron was actually coming in these ends as God had already planned before. One interesting thing about God is this. Yes, he knows the future, but he does not force you to do something. He just knows that he instinctively, it's hard to explain, but he knows what will happen in the future. It's not that he planned it. I can't say that he planned someone going to hell. No. He just knows. He knew that Judas was going to kill himself, but he still placed there ways of how to get to Judas not to kill himself. He still struggled to convince Moses to accept and go alone to Pharaoh, but still Moses refused, and God knew that. That's why Aaron was already on his way to come and meet Moses. It's quite fascinating how God works. So when they meet, these two meet, God is going to use them marvelously. And even though Moses was shaken a little at the beginning, we get to see what God did through him. There's a movie I remember I watched about Moses, and that particular movie, they showed that Moses tried to make an army and they tried to do some kind of rioting against the Egyptian king, and it all backfired. And then God, or the angel of God in that movie, who turned out to be a kid, told him, now, just watch. Told him, now, just watch. And then a lot of events happened. But in the Bible narrative, every time Moses went to Pharaoh, he told him, if you don't, this is happening. It happened. If you don't, this is happening. It happened. If you don't, this is happening. And it happened. And there are very many things Moses did in the name of the Lord. In the name of the Lord. He did not look at his strength, but rather he looked unto the strength of God. Another fascinating story I want us to look at, there are very many others. We shall also go to the book. We are going to look at the character or the historical figure, Gideon of the 300 men. and the 70 concubines. Men know how to cause havoc. So this young gentleman was born in a time when the Midianites, some race of people, tribe of people, had taken over Israel because it had already forsaken the Lord. So God gave them up to be under captivity for over 40 years. And now it so happens that as this young man, Gideon, was actually in the least tribe, in the least family, and the least person in his family, the least tribe then was Benjamin. And he was in the least family, and even in the family he was from, he was the least. But God went down to the very least. Like, he made a point, he was going down to the very bottom. And he picks out one person who can definitely and also do completely nothing on his own unless he has God's power. So we all remember the story of how he meets the angel of the Lord. He asks for signs. Remember one particular saying, either I'm confusing him with the father of Samson, but I think it's the one. Let me first check. Let's check chapter 6 in the book of Judges, verses. Let's go to 14 and 16. Or let's begin with 11. Now the angel of the Lord came and sat under a tree, which was in Ophrah, which belonged to Joash, while his son Gideon thrashed wheat in the winepress in order to hide it from their oppressors, called the Midianites. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said, the Lord is with you, you mighty man of valor. And Gideon said to him, oh my Lord, if the Lord is with us, why then all this happens to us? Let me go straight to 14. Then the Lord turned to him and said, go in this might of yours, and you shall save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have I not sent you? Now this is Gideon, before I believe. Let's look at 13. Oh Lord, if the Lord is with us, why then all this happened to us? And where are all the miracles our fathers have been telling us about you? Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now he has forsaken us and delivered us into his hands. And now the angel tells him, you know what? The Lord turned to him and said, go in that might of yours, and you're going to save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have I not sent you? So he said to him, oh my Lord, how can I save Israel? Indeed, my clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house. And the Lord said to him, surely I will be with you, and you shall defeat the Midianites. The rest I won't tell it to you in a story form. I know I'm not a good narrator, but bear with me. So when they are doing this, they are like, they are talking with God. He's like, I'm from this clan. Sorry, it was the clan in the tribe of Manasseh. Manasseh is a son of Joseph, together with Ephraim. So I'm in the least clan. I'm in the least of my family. Then God tells him, go, I have sent you. So this guy is still like, no. God understands our weaknesses. So he tells him, you know what? Okay. You go, like he tells him collect the men. He tells him to collect the men. He collects men. He collects men in 1,500. He collects men in thousands. And God is like, I am not going to use these people. Tell them to go home. Tell those who have just married, who are afraid to go home, they go. He still remains with thousands. Then he gives them another task. Tell them to go do this, something. And then a section that does this, let them branch off and go. And he still remains with some big, very number. And then God is like, you know what? Take them to the river and now tell them to drink. The ones who get down to their knees and drink like dogs, those sent back home and stay with the ones who are going to collect water from their hands and they are going to lap, like drink it from their hands. And it so happens that out of the very many thousands he had, he remained with 300 men. That's quite striking. The Midianite army you're going to attack is in thousands. Nonetheless, they are coupled up with other two kingdoms, and they are just ready to fight against you. And then God does this. He tells you to even lessen the numbers up to 300. I think I will call that the first special forces. To me, that was a very clean special force. Okay, not forgetting the spies in the times of Joshua, but that special force of 300 men that caused an entire army to kill itself. I really want to get, but I will implore you people to just go deep and check within your Bibles and see for yourself how the story went on. So when still Gideon is being a bit doubtful and God sees it, though Gideon doesn't say it, God tells him, okay, you go down to the midnight camp, go with us, a special man of yours, your favorite man, and go listen what is happening in that camp. So then he goes there and he finds there a man telling a friend the dream he had. When they tell him the dream, and the friend begins to explain the dream, he says, the Lord has chosen a man, Gideon, and tonight the Midnights are not surviving, they are dying. It was interesting. That gave Gideon the energy. But this is the most interesting part. Gideon and these 300 men surrounded. They went on top of the hills, and surrounded the entire camp that was down. If these guys were to go and combat, every man, a single man in Gideon's army was going to face off with like 3 or 5 people in the midnight army. I mean, the numbers were so diverse, it's like 10 to 1. So these guys go to the mountains and they do this. Gideon says, when I blow a trumpet, you guys also blow your trumpets, and we shall just hold our torches up high. And that's how they fought. They went up to the hills, they stood, and they blew their trumpets. And then the Midnights woke up. In that commotion, these guys killed each other. The special forces up there didn't do anything. They just stood and blew the trumpets. It was just an amazing sight. I read this story and I was like, what? Isn't this a made-up story? I trust the Bible is the word of God, and I believe so. It wasn't just a made-up story. It was wow, even it was just made up. The Bible is filled up with many things. But given Gideon won that battle, the battle is continued, but that was a very significant battle. So we get to realize this. He accepted to be used by God to save and serve the people. He was used by God to serve the people. All he had to do was to position himself so that God could use him. And now this calls us to the now what for us. What is in for us? I mean, we should have talked about Desmond, Mother Teresa. Those guys are dead. Now you've been given us Gideon and Moses. Those guys are 4,000 years dead. What's that to us? Well, there is a story. There is something we can learn from it. Given that we came to realize that purpose, the life you are living right now, the reason for your living right now, sometimes supersedes, like it's usually above you. You get to realize that you can't do it on your own. Moses could not lead those people out on his own. He failed. In fact, he failed when he thought he would, and he killed one simple Egyptian. And he ran away because he knew he was going to be killed. But then the number of people who died when God the number of Egyptians who died when God sent him, I can't even count. Even the first king, the first son of the king died, the heir to the throne, and the king did not touch a hair of Moses' head. There is a lot more you can do when you accept to look at things through the lens of God. You can do exceedingly and abundantly anything that you can do through Christ who strengthens you. And I really liked one time it came to me like, Luis, really, how am I going to make it if I'm to have a purpose? Because many people tell me like, Luis, you can do this. I'm like, bro, no. But then one time as I was being refusing as they're telling me, a lady happened to pass by. I think a few of my friends know Madame Mugera, Mrs. Mugera, Medson Bikongolo, Lillian Mugera, yes. That lady is the woman representative, or the leader of, she's something big in the Seventh Adventist community. And she said that first trust God. He has carved out your destiny. It's in his hands. Trust him. He's going to carry you through it. And believe things will be better. But what I want to take out the most is that trust God. He has carved out your life in his hands. You're going to do it. That task you're afraid of, you can do it. But you're not going to do it on your own. And I'm going to tell you this, you are weak. You are super weak. Very, very weak, by the way. But when you have to not look at that, don't look at that. But if you want to trust yourself, you should really consider the fact that you're weak. But look at the fact that there is a God above. And this is why it gets very helpful when the vision or that thing that you're running after has come from him. And then you're like, and he's the one who has given me this mission. I know he's going to sustain it. I don't think I'll be doing anyone any good justice if I continue from here. But I just want to tell you that God is with you. Just have to choose to see beyond your human eyes. Look beyond the lens of your great understanding. There is something far beyond, and there is a greater power that is within you. A power that's in you, but when it connects to your maker, it becomes exceedingly and abundantly strong. You will do anything. I repeat, anything through Christ who strengthens you. I can't say much more. Guys, have a blessed week. This has been My Life, My Purpose with I, Lindsay Lewis, at the National ICT Hub, CBM.